Hello guys, my name is SoulArts. Welcome back to another video, and I wish to talk about, does RWBY need a reboot? Now I'm just gonna try to breeze through this, get my thoughts out clear and concise. It may not happen though, because this is a topic I hate. I'm not going to lie, when people discuss does RWBY need a reboot, this thing really does piss me off, because so many people say it. Or a good side of the content I make, which is criticizing RWBY and analyzing RWBY, so many people say I want a RWBY reboot, I want a RWBY reboot, and it's super annoying, but I'm still gonna make this video unbiased and I'm just gonna give my point of view. So why do fans say this? Well, because the writing isn't that good. I mean, RWBY has a lot of amazing ideas, it has a lot of great ideas, and it has a lot of amazing foundation for those ideas. As I've stated in numerous videos, I think RWBY has some of the best foundation and ideas for a series I have ever seen, but that doesn't mean it has good execution. RWBY has some terrible execution and some terrible writing decisions, and people hate that. People think the show has changed, people want their own versions of the show, people just want this series to be better. Regardless of what it is, it all usually stems from, I want this product to be better because it is displeasing me. 9 times out of 10, it always goes down to writing, to decisions, to execution. And frankly, that's why fans say this. They're just displeased about the writing, the decisions, the execution, what's happening with the story. People feel like it's changed, people feel like it's not enough, people feel like it just got worse, people feel like characters aren't making the right decisions and aren't in character themselves. So yeah, I can understand why fans say this, but I think the thing we should be talking about is a reboot possible? And with that, I believe yes, a reboot is possible, but just because it is a yes doesn't mean it is going to happen. A reboot is 100% possible. Now, I believe it is a very slim chance of that, and I'll get into that in a minute, but I believe RWBY and any other piece of media or animation or series or whatever can have a reboot. Yes, a reboot is possible, but what are the chances of that reboot? In my opinion, pretty slim. So let's discuss, will a reboot happen? Probably not. RWBY seems very adamant about finishing RWBY, so I don't believe RWBY is going to be rebooted in the middle of a volume. It's just not going to happen. Or in the middle of production. It's just not going to happen. RWBY seems like they don't want a reboot, and I believe Viz Media isn't going to give them a reboot if they don't ask for it. Viz Media isn't just going to push a reboot onto RWBY. And RWBY 9 times out of 10 aren't going to accept Viz Media if they do want a reboot. I just don't believe that's going to happen. Yes, Viz Media houses RWBY. Yes, Viz Media now kinda owns RWBY, but RWBY still has a lot of say, and RWBY had to have a agreement with them, and I'm positive somewhere in that line it will state that they cannot reboot this show. This series will not be rebooted unless RWBY wants it rebooted, and I don't believe RWBY would want it rebooted, at least not now. If RWBY was to get a reboot, it would be at the end of the series. The series would have to end. You would probably have to wait a couple years after the series ends, and then we could get a RWBY reboot. But besides that, I don't believe we're going to get a RWBY reboot. Even when you look at the ideology of Monty Ohm, he focuses on moving forward. A RWBY reboot would focus on moving backwards, and I don't know if they would want to do that to honor his legacy. Yes, I understand that people want better writing, better execution. I understand that we want a different story, a different narrative, something better. I get that, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. Just because it's a want doesn't mean it's a need, and we don't necessarily need it. We would want it, but it's not a need. Plus, you have to think about investment and things of that nature. If we were to get a RWBY reboot, here's how it would usually be. We're going to have the same writers, we're going to have most of the same team, and we're probably just going to have some additional people here and there. I can't imagine RWBY relinquishing control of writing, animation, voices, and other things for a RWBY reboot. It's just not going to happen. People often sit here and say they want a RWBY reboot, but you have to understand the people who are in charge of RWBY. They aren't going to relinquish control, especially 100% of their control over a series they feel like they've been gifted and handed down. Regardless of how you feel about them, regardless of how I feel about them, regardless of how other people feel about them, you have to think about it like this. Monty Ohm was their friend, and they still care deeply for Monty Ohm. Whether you feel as if they're honoring him or not, that's up to you, but that doesn't matter in this equation because it's about their feelings. Monty Ohm was their friend, and they wish to carry on his legacy, his series. that's what they're doing. And because they feel so personally entangled with Monty, with this series, with his ideology, with his passion, with his characters, with the dream he built for himself and others, they aren't just going to give up 100% control to some random. So if we were to get a RWBY reboot, expect the same cast. And as much as you guys don't like it, we're probably going to keep that same cast in a RWBY reboot. Now, what I would always suggest is adding additional writers. These writers don't need to take over the main cast, but these writers can at least guide, add on to new ideas, and help out around. So many people want a RWBY reboot and to kick out the old writers and in with some new writers, some better writers, and all this other stuff. And you guys have to think, that's not going to happen. They're not going to relinquish control, and they're not going to step down unless they know that person personally. And I know some people may say, well, they stepped down for some books and some movies. Yeah, this is side content. Side content. If this was the main series, a main thing, I'm positive they will not be stepping down. They may take a back seat, or they may offer to have someone help them on the side, but stepping down completely and relinquishing control, not gonna happen. So will a reboot happen? I think it has like a 2% chance. I don't think they wish to reboot the show, and if they do wish to reboot the show, it's probably just going to be the same writers, some of the same voice actors, and all you're going to do is have some slight improvements with execution, with some writing, but it's still going to be the same people. And I know a lot of people who are probably watching this are probably like people who want RWBY to be rebooted and hate the series and hate the writers or hate Rooster Teeth. And the same people you hate are probably gonna stay on the project. Sorry to tell you, but that's probably how it's gonna happen. You just gotta think about the people working behind it. I understand what you want, but you have to also understand what they want. Rant aside, here's the reasons why I don't want a RWBY reboot. And they're practically the reasons I stated abovehand, but also one, and most importantly, it's more of a bit of a selfish reason. This is Monty Ohm's last, and I mean last time appearing in RWBY. We cannot get him back. Unless you go through his old files, make RWBY a 3D series, take his old animation and continue to edit and animate with that, yes, you can sprinkle parts of him inside of the new RWBY reboot. The old RWBY has Monty animation down to its core. It has him voice acting in it down to his core. You can't remove that away from him. But if we get a RWBY reboot, we're not gonna have that. We're just gonna have his name. We're gonna have his ideas, and we're gonna have his characters, and that can be expanded upon, and that's beautiful. But me personally, coming from someone I idolize, coming from somebody as the last memory, as the last piece of him, I would want him. Sorry if that sounds weird. Maybe it's hard to explain, but I would want Monty himself. And we can't get Monty himself. No matter what you do, no matter what technique, no matter grabbing his old animation, it's not going to be Monty. Unless you grab literally the same scene, word for word, bar for bar with early RWBY, and just add some new models to it, it's never going to be Monty's animation. And it's never going to have the heart and soul of Monty. You can be like him. You can be better than him, but you can't just be directly him one of one. It's not how people work. And like I said, being selfish and being my idol, I just would want him. That's it. And I don't really want to erase the one part of him we do have. Like I said, it's still his characters, it's still his series at the end of the day if we reboot it. But I want him, the person that actually worked on it, to still be there. And we can't have that. And that hurts me. And I don't want it for that reason, as well as all the other reasons I listed beforehand. Sorry if it doesn't make sense. If it does make sense, I hope you understand. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. It's so hard to explain, but I don't know. I love Monty. He's one of my idols. He's the reason I do what I do today. And I love this series. It's done a lot for me, and I can't thank him enough. I've literally made a song dedicated to him. I've made numerous songs and videos and animations and art dedicated to him. He's somebody that has touched me deeply, and in my personal opinion, I would at least want something of him. And you know, unless you reuse voice lines from like Lyren and then get his brother, but I don't know. I just want Monty, and we can't really have that in a RWBY reboot. And that's kind of also why I don't want another RWBY reboot. Because if we do have one, and let's say it is leagues better than the current RWBY, kind of just have Monty kind of fade away. We don't. we technically don't, but in my heart we technically do. I don't know, it's a bit selfish, but it's just how I view it. Anyway, I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Sorry for this turning out random as hell. I decided to ramble. It's a mix of my older style mixed with my newer style, where I don't script my videos at all, but I try not to ramble for this long, especially like I try to at least pace myself occasionally. And this one I just decided to ramble and see where it leads me. So that's why this video is so like long on certain parts and so short on others. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. And with that, I guess, you know, just basic YouTuber outro. But I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace.